Well, hello everyone. We are so excited because today we are launching the Zera Podcast. And this is something that we've been planning for quite some time, and we're excited that today we get to share this experience with everyone.
Really, and just open a safe space for everyone to have these kinds of conversations, whether it's people in our team, people in our family, people in our network, or people we're trying to bring into this kind of network. Really creating that space where these conversations can be had, because too often we feel like we're not ready to have these conversations, but I know that we will provide that confidence and that skill to each and every one of our viewers and our teammates to really elevate every one of their conversations, whether it's family conversations, work conversations, personal conversations, all of those topics. We're definitely here to provide that space for these topics.
And when we started Zera Coaching, really the goal has always been to add value to people.
Correct.
And we constantly say that. One of the things that I always love to say and preface with is adding value to people through every interaction.
Correct.
But maybe oftentimes people don't know exactly what that means when we say adding value. How do you add value? Mm-hmm. Some of the ways that we want to add value to you is through our experiences, through our stories, through our personal experiences, but more importantly, just being genuine of our ups and downs that we've experienced and how we can help others grow throughout this podcast.
Most definitely. I always think that lessons that I go through, I never want my sisters to go through them because I'm here to teach them. I'm here to teach them. You don't have to go that route because didn't work out for me. Let's try another route for you. So that way you can succeed faster than I did, right? So if I want to imply that to my sisters like that, I now feel this space where I can implement it in everyone that comes across me. So I'm excited to launch this podcast today here alongside you, Hervin, and just to create a safe space for these conversations and let people know that we are ready to have them.
And we have to remind people that sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Correct.
You know, in life, we are going to win, but there are times where we are going to learn from our mistakes. We're going to learn from our failures. And I'm sure that, you've experienced those setbacks in life, as myself and many of the people here that are watching this podcast. Maybe right now and they're in this season, they feel stuck.
Yeah.
And what we want to create through this podcast is a space where if you are wanting to grow, both professionally and personally, or if you want to experience more, or if you feel stuck, or if you are wanting to get back into school, or want to grow your leadership, or want to start your own business, that this space will help you, inspire you, reach those levels.
Most definitely. And I know that, with every interaction that we have and every story that we're going to share here creates that vulnerability, but also creates that sense of, hey, we're human too. And we're here to help you develop and grow as much as we can help you. But at the other end of the road, you have to want it. You have to want to grow. You have to want to be better every day that you wake up. So we can feed and pour into every single one of you every day in this show. But what are you doing on the other end to feed yourself what you want at the end of the road? You have to want it at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And, kind of to walk you through a little bit of my journey and how I got here is really Zera Coaching was never a goal.
Wow.
It was a byproduct of an idea.
Wow.
And I'm sure many of the people that are listening, you guys have goals, aspirations, resolutions that you want to accomplish. Zera Coaching was never a goal. It was a byproduct of an idea. And what I mean by that is it started with how can we add value to people in our community? How can we add value to my circle, to the people that I am surrounded with? And one of the things that I want to highlight is you cannot add value to others unless you value yourself.
I love that.
You cannot add value to others unless you first find value in yourself. And that takes me back to years ago, where I remember when I became John Maxwell certified back in 2018. And I remember in that season, I did nothing to add value to others. And the reason why I did nothing with it was because I didn't see value in myself. And although I knew what I needed to do, I didn't do it. Not because I didn't want to, but because I asked myself, how can I add value to others through leadership development if I myself don't see value in myself? And it was a very dark season in my life that although I knew what I needed to do, I didn't do it because I didn't see value in myself. And you may be in the season where you may not see value in yourself, or maybe you might not see the full value in yourself. And I want to encourage you and remind you that there is value in you. But what you need to understand is that you need to come to the realization that you may not have what others have, but there is something unique about you that people need to listen to you and know about you. And that is my experience. And, you know, throughout these seasons and podcasts that we share, we'll be sharing that story of how you can come out of that space where you may not see value in yourself.
And I want to share how I didn't see the value in myself for a really long time. And it was as easy as when we first met, one of the first things you asked me is, do you have LinkedIn? I didn't. At the time, I didn't even have Instagram. I was going through an Instagram break, thought I would get Instagram back in a few months, and it had been 3 years since I did not have an Instagram. I was not tapped into that social world. And it was mainly because I thought, well, what am I going to post? Well, what am I going to let people see about me? And it would always result in, nah, no es nada. You know, it's nothing. I'm not doing anything. Why am I going to post? Why am I going to open in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, when I didn't have anything to post? That's what I thought. And I knew that when we first interacted with each other, I knew that that was going to be a goal of mine. And it sure was. Every day after that, almost every day, for about a year, I remember you asking me, every time you saw me, or you would text me, hey, that LinkedIn account. You even would send me the link to register for an account. And it was all because I didn't see what I was doing was adding value to other people or even adding value to myself. So for a long time, I hid the role that I played in my community. I hid the leadership that I had in the role that I carried because I didn't feel like I deserved to be there. And I didn't feel like my young self was ready to add value to people like I am now. And that really opened a different opportunity for me and a different view on who I was and what I did. And a lot of that came from our one-on-ones. We had a few one-on-ones before. I don't think a lot of people know that about Zera coaching. You know, they see Zera and they think our mastermind courses, they think these big group scenarios like Leadership Day, but you also offer one-on-one life coaching. And at the time, I had gone 4 years into my leadership role and I plateaued. I felt like I was no longer learning, that I was just teaching. And I no longer wanted to be in that space. So I remember I reached out to you, told you, hey, I want to, sit down, have some chats with you. And it all happened very organically because the difference between when I sat down with the therapist and when I sat down with you as a life coach was the therapist was telling me what to do to get better results. But how was she supposed to tell me what to do when she knew little to nothing about me? And our sessions, you and I, was you asking me questions that almost, and I feel like you can, you can say, something about this is almost instantly I knew what to do. You would ask me a question and I would just look at you like, man, I already know what to do with that answer. I want to leave and go do it now. That's how much I wanted to just implement these things you were telling me.
Yeah, and one of the things that we want to make sure is when we connect with people, when we talk with people, when we conversate with people, is meet people where they're at. Everyone is in a different season in their life. And when I see people, I have this mindset of how can I help them? I remember one time I was on LinkedIn and there was this community leader that connected with me. And he sent me a message and he said, hey, we should connect for coffee sometime. And I found it very interesting because I didn't expect that from this community leader and well respected. And I was like, sure, let's make it happen. And we made it happen. And I remember when I had coffee with this individual, we talked about, what we were working on, some of our goals, and some of the things that he was working on. But one of the things that really stood out to me is at the end of our time together, he told me this, Hervin, what can I do for you? And that really impacted me because typically we're always looking to get something out of people, even though that may not be our intention, but it really put into perspective, what am I doing for others? Am I being intentional about doing something for others rather than asking? And when he said that, I'm like, I couldn't think in that moment what he could do for me. But then later I thought about it and I said, hey, you know what? I could ask him this. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because oftentimes we think about ourselves, but not about others. And really, it should be about others because everyone communicates, but few connect. And if you want to connect with people in a genuine way, you have to be about people and what can I do to help you move into your next season.
And you do a great job at not just communicating with people, but connecting with people. In those sessions, it's almost like you were willing to pour your heart out to better my next step in my life. I was feeling, just out of it. But I had a great job. I had a great leadership role. I had amazing support, but there was something missing. And upon reflection, I realized I want to be in my learning era. I want to be in my learning era. And I took a leap of faith and I applied for another job. It wasn't a leadership role job, but I knew that if I took this leap of faith, I was going to hop into my learning era. And I sure did. Every day is a learning experience now that I've been at this new organization. And I have such a huge heart for the organization I was with in the past. But it was time for someone new to step into that role and take it and make it their own. I took it and I made it my own, but without a platform, because I didn't have LinkedIn, because I didn't have Instagram, because I wasn't putting myself out there in this leadership role. And I now reflect on, man, if I would have built my online branding, my personal branding online 4 years ago when I started at that leadership role, man, the network I would have just online, because it's so important right now to be on social media, to let people know what you're doing online, because a lot of the times people are scrolling and scrolling and scrolling for days. But what am I really doing? And it took a lot of realization that I played a big role in the organization I was in. I just couldn't see it for myself. And you really opened that door for me and allowed me to think so differently about myself, because for a long time, and I remember in a session with you, you told me, I want to give you advice about something that I no longer want you to say out loud. I always tell you that I'm big on, what you preach into the universe can come back to you. I have a strong feeling that the universe controls a lot of what we do. And if we put that out into the universe, it's going to be true and it's going to happen. And you told me, I no longer want you to say that you're the youngest one in the room. I no longer want you to talk about how young you are. And I was for so long just preaching that I was, people won't get it because, they're not in my generation. Or I don't get it because I'm not in their generation. For a long time, I screwed that lid on my jar and I burnt out my candle because I was the youngest one in the room. And during one of our sessions, you told me, I want to propose something to you that I no longer want to ever hear you say. And I haven't said it since, till now, right?
But wow, I had totally forgot about that. But yeah, it's important that we highlight our strengths rather than our opportunities of growth, because we all have opportunities where we can grow. But really, the way I like to put it is you need to work in your strengths and work on your weaknesses. Yeah. Because we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, but really finding what we're good at. And if we begin to compare ourselves with other people, well, we might see someone else, but they're in a different season. And I tell people all the time, it's not about competing with people, it's about completing people. Yeah. Don't compete with people, complete people. And because essentially we're all in different seasons. Yeah. And your journey might look very different than mine. The way you win in life is maybe different the way I win in life. But as long as we focus on becoming the best version of ourselves, because, excellent is not being better than others, but being the best version of yourself.
And I think that also ties into the people that you surround yourself with. And I took it by the horns this year, and I actively talk about the people I want to surround myself with and the people that I am surrounding myself with that I no longer want to surround myself with. I actively talk about that. I have a really great relationship with my parents, and they are my rocks, and I go to them almost every day for dinner, right? And I tell them, they're my personal journals. And I pour into them hey, I've been friends with this person for over 10 years, but they're no longer aligning to the conversations that I want to have on my free time. Because I'm connecting with these people, but are they connecting with me? No. And it goes back to those superficial conversations, the surface level conversations. I'm not a fan. I want to dig deeper. And I tell my sister all the time, I'm a digger. And that means I dig deep. I ask questions that are going to get to the bottom of the heart, get to the bottom of what's going on. And I really hope that the conversations that I now am having are letting people know that I'm credible to have this conversation with you. In the past, I've lost so many friends because I tried to navigate their emotions. I tried to navigate their life. I tried to navigate their career. But at the time, who was I to try to do that? We were all just 20, 21 years old, but I was the mother, the mom of the group. I've always been called the mom of the group. But at the time, I wasn't credible to have these conversations with these people. So then now, my circles, I feel what's the next step than a mom? It's the grandmother. I feel the wisdom. I feel the knowledge and the proper approach to these conversations now. And it really goes back to our sessions with Zera and the team bonding that we do. Every time that I'm with every one of our teammates, it digs deeper. The conversation gets deeper. It's not a surface level conversation. And I will always leave that space with you guys so satisfied driving home like this. Super happy because we didn't just communicate, we connected at the end of the day. And that's us, I feel, every day. I don't think people know that we share an office space now. And every day is just a different day, a brand new day. It doesn't ever feel like you're waking up and you're going to the same thing and the same thing, like the same routine and the same routine over and over, because we switch it up every day. You never know what is going to come up, what conversations are going to come up. But even those small conversations between you and I, man, it goes there. And then we both sit back like, that was deep.
Yeah, and to touch on something you said, you like to dig deep. And what I love to tell people is you have to dig deep in order to build high. You have to dig deep in order to build high. And really, in sharing how our team got built, it happened very organically.
Yes.
The way our Zera coaching team, because when we started Zera coaching, it was never supposed to be a team. That wasn't the goal. And really, it speaks on how we allow things to occur organically, how we allow things to happen by themselves. Because many times we might try to push for things. And I believe it's important to plan. It's important to have goals and to have smart goals. But you also have to allow things to happen naturally rather than trying to push things to happen. Because many times when we try to push for something to happen, it might not be the outcome that we want. Yeah. And through our experience, through my experience in building Zera Coaching, is we have built a winning team. We've built a team that is very cohesive, that trusts each other, and we can be very vulnerable with each other and have those real conversations of our ups and downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we're experiencing. Sometimes we're not feeling it, but that's what makes our team unique. And that's what we want to share with the audience is that you're not going to be in your A game every single day. There are going to be days that you're not feeling it. There are going to be days that you don't want to wake up and go to work. But being real with yourself, it's okay not to be okay. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that we must continue striving for excellence, because excellence is not having the best, but doing the best with what you have. Correct. And doing the best with what we have is making sure that we focus and be grateful for the things that are important in our lives. And we hope that this space really adds value to you through our vulnerable stories, through our real, authentic stories, because we want to make sure that you are able to be relatable, because we don't have it all together. We're growing just like you, and we hope that this space will add value to you in making sure that you know that there are always ways to continue growing through this space.
I love it. I know that people will find themselves in some of these stories that we share here. And so I just want to encourage everyone to stay tuned. We have a lot planned for what's to come here with Zera Coaching, and we'll see you on the next one.